He's a friend. Very lucky.
Oh, yes.
Hello. So this is Melody over here, and I'm joined by a group of BME students from Johns Hopkins. Most of them are international. Actually, all of them are international. So we'll just start the presentation right now. I don't think the presentation can be in Chinese. So I'll just give you a little brief overview of the Johns Hopkins program of biomedical engineering. And then after this little brief overview, we'll start the question and answer.
Start the presentation. Sorry, it's not showing.
It's not showing?
No.
Okay.
Can you try switch to share screen?
Okay. What? Hold on. Is this showing right now? Yes, okay, cool. Alright, I'll just start the presentation. Is everyone okay? If you are, let me know. Okay. Alright, so here's a couple pictures of Johns Hopkins campus. We have two campuses. One is located at the School of Medicine, and another one is a little bit more uptown in Homewood campus. So the School of Medicine, as it's named, is right next to the School of Medicine, and we have two researchers buildings right next to it. It's Ross and Traylor. Actually, we have maybe a couple more, but the picture is showing Ross and Traylor. And then we also have Clark Hall on the Homewood campus, which would be more of the undergrad campus. So this is the slides from the dean of our BME program. So he started the slide asking 10 questions that he asked when he was in graduate school. So most of them are very similar to what you would be asking and what I asked or most of us asked when we started. So one of them is like, other than becoming a professor, what other jobs are there for people who get PhDs? Why should I go to this school? When can I expect to finish? What classes should I take? What are some of the things that I need to do to make me an outstanding candidate for post-PhD career options? How do I find a question that I want to spend my days and nights thinking about? How do I know that there is a right mentor and lab for me? I hear that grants are hard to come by. What happens to me if my mentor loses funding? Am I good enough to really discover something new? How about Baltimore? So hopefully through this really brief presentation, all 10 questions can be answered. Okay, so here is a little bit of statistical data of the BME PhD program at Johns Hopkins. So we started in 1961, and the first graduate student graduated in 1966. By 2015, the 373 PhDs graduated. 60% of them stayed in academia, 30% of them in industry, and 10% of them in government. So the average duration of a PhD program at Johns Hopkins is 5.8 years. Actually, we have, in the last 10 years alone, we have 660 numbers of peer-reviewed papers published by BME students in our program. Per student, when they graduate, they have 5.6 papers published. That's a lot. And the mean GPA for incoming students currently is 3.9 out of a 4.0 scale. And we are in the program for 20 consecutive years, ranked #1 in the US. So this is just some of the quotes from our dean saying that why we should become a scientist and do things that's worthwhile. And this is just a quote from the National Academy, from Richard Feynman, addressed to the National Academy of Science. And we're lucky to live in an age which we're still making discoveries, and it's like the discovery of America. You only discover it once, and that's why we should be here doing that one-time discovery. And also more quotes. I'm gonna skip over this because it's a lengthy presentation. And this is how he explained what a PhD really is. This circle is the sum of total human knowledge. And when you start kindergarten or elementary school, that's how much you learn. And when you go through high school, you learn a little bit more. And then when you do a bachelor's degree, you gain a little bit more specific set of skills. And then when you get a master, you get deeper in that special skills. And then when you start a PhD, you kind of start to learn that where is the limit of human knowledge. And by the time that you find your thesis and you know where you're gonna go, you start to focus on the boundary. And then that's where you start pushing through the boundary. And hopefully, by the time you graduate, or maybe one day in academia, you make a dent. And you break through what humans already know. So that's more quotes from the team. No, I'm going to skip that. But I do want to emphasize here is that our BME department is really cool in that it combines 3 different kinds of problems. It combines biology problems, medicine problems, and engineering problems, and it's very unique that all 3 of them meet in the BME department of Johns Hopkins. So one of the questions I know a lot of you already asked is that what are the costs and who pays the bills? So the cost of the BME program every year is $32,000 stipend per person. That is to going to you, and that's your more or less your salary in a sense. And then additionally, we've got like $3,400 of health and dental insurance, and then we have $46,000 of tuition coming into Johns Hopkins. So because we're under the School of Medicine, the tuition is waived. So nobody needs to pay for the $46,000. Not your PI, not you, no one has to pay for it because it's waived. So as a first year, you should also do some training grant applications or research assistantship. And there's a bunch of training grants you can apply, but that mostly apply to US students. So as international students, it might not be so applicable to you. But because international students, some of them or many of them come in as a research assistantship, or by the end of first year, you have a faculty that will be supporting you throughout the whole time, so then your research assistantship should be sufficient to support you. And first year, if you're doing rotation, that's when you do rotations and find out who's your PI. If you're not, you're just coming through as a research assistant, then you have one PI throughout your career. And second year, it's when your mentors start to write lab grants for you, or you write it with your mentor. And then third years on, you might get external fellowships or external grants, and that depends on the circumstance or the fellowship's requirements. And then graduate students are fully funded by the BME department, so you can never be worried. Like, you don't really need to be worried about money once you come into Johns Hopkins. Like if there's any issues between you and your PI, like the department is on your back, so they'll definitely help you out. So where do the stipends go? Like that's like given like you have $32,000 a year, how do you spend them? Here's a little bit of statistics showing that most students spend like about $700 on rent, and then the next big expense, if you do have a child, would be a child care. Otherwise, it falls according to this graph. If you have any questions, just raise your hand and then I can answer it through the way too. And then this is how much rent really costs in Baltimore. So the median or mean is around like 600 to 700, and there are some people who choose to live in apartments, and that's a little bit more expensive on the thousands more. And I know another concern from you is the safety of Baltimore. So here is a statistic graph showing how crime rate has really gone down since 93. So and the x-axis is the year. So like starting in 1993, we have like 700 crimes a year. But by 2015, it's 154. It's going down. And there's a lot of improvement in the recent years that we as students, we can also talk about how we feel about the safety, but so far from my personal experience, it's not that bad. So how to measure the quality of faculties? So I don't know if you have already gone on Google Scholar, and then you can look at the I-index of Google Scholar indicating like faculties who have papers that have been cited for more than 10 times by a peer review paper. And here is faculties that have a high number of I-index. So here in Johns Hopkins, like, H-index, sorry, I'm speaking really fast. Sorry, I'm speaking too fast. So this is the H-index, sorry, I made a mistake. So the line in the middle is the 0, I guess. How do you interpret this? So above the line is high number of publications. Under the line is low number of publications. So I guess you compare this to other different kind of schools. You see that Johns Hopkins is actually really high, like comparable to like Stanford in terms of the number of faculties that go above the line. So x-axis is the number of years that faculty has spent post PhD. So if you're a young faculty, you might have fewer number of publications that have a high H-index. So that's why there's a diagonal line across this graph. So Duke and Georgia Tech here are a lot more falling under the line, so that's a bad news. And Johns Hopkins is on top of the line, so that's good news. So another graph here is showing that how much funding and research support faculties in Johns Hopkins can really provide us. So in median, all the faculties here can really provide you $570,000 a year. So that's a lot of funding, and that indicates that you almost never have to worry about getting funding yourself or having to do like TH trip or something to make up your regular funding. So here's some milestones throughout your PhD career. So from year 1, we have a first year retreat that everyone's required to go, and that is a great way that we bond. And during the first year, you also do rotations, and then you also take classes in the first year that might also go into the second year. You have some class requirements, and then during first year, you might also start doing some fellowship applications such as NSF application, but that is, from what I understand, mostly for US students, so international students might not apply to that. And then second year or end of first year, beginning of second year is when you start to think about DBO. DBO is what we call a qualified exam. So passing that exam, you become an actual PhD candidate. Without passing that exam, then I guess you'll have to leave with the master's. But it's very hard to fail the exam, because this is not a program to fail you. It's just to test your knowledge of how much you know. As you took 2 years of classes, we want to make sure that you are qualified to move on to become a PhD candidate. And then during the second year to third year, we do have a TA-ship requirement that is just because the department is doing a lot for us. We just want to pay back to the department. It's not to make you go out and make money on your own. It's not like that. It's just you're probably gonna help your professor TA 1 or 2 classes of theirs and then help out for the department. And obviously during second year on, you're gonna start to think about your thesis, and then you'll work mainly on your thesis. And by the third year, you will have a thesis proposal, and then third, fourth, and fifth year is when you'll really work hard on your thesis, and then by the fifth year you defend, and then hopefully you'll get a PhD out of that. And throughout the course of third to fifth year, there are some awards, such as the David Yu Award or the Civil Prize. Those are really high standard awards that if you win any of those, that's like the goal of your life, I guess. It's like really, really good. There's also other applications for fellowships or stuff throughout the process as well. Oh, sorry, I missed that. So after your DBO, you get a coding ceremony because we are under the School of Medicine, so you kind of blend in with the doctors, so you get a coding ceremony. It's really cool. So here is some statistics showing the productivities of typical Johns Hopkins BME PhD student. So obviously when you start as a first year, you don't have that many publications or you don't go to too many conferences. But once you get to like third, fourth, or fifth year, that's when you start to boom. You get like 2 papers like on your fourth year, probably like maybe 3 on your fifth year, and then by the time you graduate, you still continue because the work you have been doing for 3-4 years will have a momentum, and that will drive you to publish even if you graduate. And that's the same for conference. That momentum carries on. And obviously, if you do qualify for fellowship, as you move on throughout your career as a PhD, the fraction of people who do win a fellowship increase a lot. And it seems like the peak is the fourth year because fifth year you graduate. So that's the graph here. And then besides serious stuff, research or other stuff of the program, we do have student-run programs. So the first one that we have is like a BME Edge program. So that is an internship program. So it seems like most of us do stay in academia, but like that trend has been changing in the past 2-3 years. So by I think last year, 50% of our graduate students do end up in industry instead of academia. And the EDGE program is one of the gateways that will help you get into the industry or help you get into government. And then we also have the medical design initiative. So that is for you to help out in like learning device design or marketing or other stuff. So that's a lot more hands-on, I guess. And then obviously there's milestones as I talked about. So as year 1, you have classes, you have lab rotations, or you have RA-ship, and then you have to like decide which professor you want to do. And this is one of the examples of classes. So as we are under School of Medicine, you get to take School of Medicine classes. So you can be with this medical student, and you can take anatomy, you can take immunology, you can take many different kind of courses. And that is shown here, like if this is a medical school class you're taking, you'll be spending most of your time of the week on that class. And that's a very short period of classes. Most of them last like maybe a month to 2. And you learn a lot with that short span of time. And this is very unique to Johns Hopkins because most other schools you might not be able to have the opportunities. And then as a second year, you'll already start to work for a mentor, and then you continue with your classes, and then you start your qualified exam or your DBO. And then after your DBO, you get your coding ceremony. At year 3, that's when you do a thesis proposal, and then maybe you also have like other fellowship applications. And then year 5, that's when you defend, and then hopefully you'll win a prize. So the SIBO award is awarded each year in May, and then it requires nomination for the SIBO scholars, and it has a lot of requirements that you have to go through to actually win the award. And it's a really big award. If you win it, it's $35,000 go directly to the student, and it's independent to the stipend that they receive. So on top of your $32,000 stipend that year, you get $35,000 as well. And this is to achieve to like appraise your academic achievements. And then, as I said, there's many different paths to industry, entrepreneurship, and other non-academia careers. So there's definitely those resources here. So I guess some of the pros and cons of our program. So we have very exceptional students in our program. Obviously our admitted students' median GPA is 3.9, so they're really good scholars. We have very well-funded faculties, like nobody really have to worry about ever going out to find funding yourself, like the PI is always there, the department's always there. There's also SIBO award. Not every school have the ability to give out a SIBO award, and Johns Hopkins is one of them. And then there's also student-led alternative career programs. Tuition is waived for our students. This is a very different story compared to schools that they do have tuitions required for students, but just the PI is paying for it. We can go into that little detail if you're interested, but this is a big deal in terms of finance or the background politics. You can also take medical school courses, which is a very unique opportunity compared to many other schools. And past students have shown through the statistics that have shown that they're all very productive. So if you come here, you'll also be very productive, hopefully. And then there's a little bit of weakness of the program, that is that the length of the programs is 6 years. So there is changes underway that we're trying to keep it to 5 years, but at Johns Hopkins, we really care about the quality of your research. So we really want you to graduate knowing that we know that you'll be a very good independent researcher. So there is some pictures showing that how life at Baltimore can be like, and this is just things that happens in Baltimore. Like you can do some volunteer work at local high school as well, and that's just very 5 minutes walk within our research buildings. There's also Inner Harbor area, which is newly renovated. It's up and coming. It's just very pretty. And then Annapolis is the capital of Maryland, and that's only 40 minutes drive. And DC, which is capital of the whole country, is only 1 hour drive. So that's all the presentation of from our dean, and I totally went over time, sorry. So now I'm gonna start the actual question and answers. If you have any questions, you should let me know actually. Let us know if you do see us. Okay, can you hear us? Okay, cool. All right. Hold on. So, hello. So I'm Melody. I was the person that was been talking. So we have a great panel over here. Sorry, I'm blocking people. Maybe I'll start with Hugh, and he can say a few words of yourself, introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line, and then we can start the questions. Just a background.
Sure. Hi everyone. I'm Hugh. I'm a first year Vietnamese PhD student, just like Melody. I'm from Vietnam. Nice to meet you all. And if you have any questions come up, just feel free to ask us. We'd be happy to answer. Thanks.
Okay, so I want to know about dormitory facilities. Is there any? Okay. Well, we can go through that. Okay. We'll start. Han.
Yeah. My name is Shuo. I'm second year PhD student here. I think that's.
What's your track of concentration?
My track is imaging. I'm working with actually a professor from the ECE department, and it's a little bit different from others, but it's fun. And you can choose like professors probably from other departments as your that's okay.
Hi, my name is Hong. I'm the program manager.
So Han is the boss here.
Hi, my name is Ye, and I'm a 6th-year PhD. I'm in Professor Jeff Wang's lab. So my research focuses on the molecular diagnostics and microfabrication. And I think it's from here that one of the students actually is very interested in. So if you have any questions about our lab, so you're welcome to ask.
Hi, my name is Emily, and I'm a postgraduate student, and my track is on the MRI, and my class is in the radiology.
Okay. And
Thanks you. I'm a first year PhD student. This is my 5th year living in Baltimore, so if you have any questions about the school itself or about Baltimore, I will try my best to answer them.
Hi, I'm Yu Xi. I'm also first year BME student. I'm in computational track.
okay. And we also have Jianan on remote joining us. So Jianan, maybe speak a few words.
Hi everyone, Jianan. I'm a 5th year PhD student in computational biology. I'm currently working in Dr. Joe Bader's lab. So if you are on the computational biology track, feel free to throw away any question at me.
Thank you.
You guys hear me?
Okay. So I guess someone already asked a question about dormitories. Is that a question about dorms?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll just few words about like where do you live? What's the living situation like for now?
Yeah, there are some like dormitory like apartments available near Homewood campus or the School of Medicine. Near the School of Medicine is called 929, and near Homewood there are a lot more options. And you can also live anywhere in town you like. We don't have a dormitory for graduate students per se, but there are a lot of options, and can cost you from like 500 to like 1,000-ish range.
Yeah. So the school itself doesn't exactly provide dorms as if it's undergraduates, but there are like many options near school that you can find dorms, and we do have presentations on that. Like maybe at the very end we can show you like some of the choices people make. And then I guess I'll start. I know a lot of you ask questions about interviews, like such as interview formats, how should you dress for the interview, or what kind of questions are asked during interviews.
There are more questions.
There's more questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
So is there a possibility of working with faculty that are affiliated to other departments? For
Okay,
example,
so
the neuroscience department.
yeah, we can go ahead.
Neuroscience, yeah.
I'm not sure about neuroscience, but my PI is from ECE, and he is also what is it called? Like part of the BME program.
Secondary.
So
We
that is also okay. And also you can also collaborate with people outside the university.
So our policy is that any BME student, you can work with any faculty at Johns Hopkins. And right now we have about 200 PhDs, about 40% are working with non-BME faculty, some with physicians, oncologists, radiologists, especially like for example, Hong Li.
Yeah, my PI is in the radiology.
Yeah, her PI is in radiology, and also mine with a mechanical engineer. Like yeah, so her advisor is a mechanical engineer and ECE, computer science. So I think that's a very unique feature of our program.
Yeah,
And then you can find many homes at Hopkins.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely like the best like flexibility is definitely one of the best thing that like it's so unique that only Hopkins has to offer. So like for me, I'm working with right now